I don't know if Howard Stern is ready for that, to tell you the truth.
Too racy for Howard Stern.
Might be.
All right.
So Stefon Diggs catches 7 balls on Sunday. I'm starting to wonder, have the Vikings found a gem in this guy?
Oh, absolutely. I think they have. When you talk about a guy who's in his second start, he's already got 200-some receiving yards. And how many does Patterson have this entire year or the last year?
No need to bring up the comparison.
You do, though, because he's a 5th-round pick. Which one looks like the 1st-round pick and which one looks like the 5th-round pick? I mean, I think Stefon Diggs showed that he was such a smooth route runner in the preseason and training camp, and to already build that rapport with Teddy this soon, I think, the ceiling's got to be very, very high for him.
Is it fair to say, though, that the Vikings were expecting this, or do you think, Judd, that it's the case where, hey, the production is great, but it might even be a little bit of gravy considering where they took him?
No, I think they were expecting it. Ben Gessling of ESPN told us a story, I think on the air at some point, that Ben was trying to put together the 53-man roster. This is like the start of training camp, and he had Diggs on the bubble.
Okay.
And I believe he saw Norv Turner in Mankato, potentially at an establishment.
Oh.
And Norv basically said flat out, you got Diggs way too low.
Okay.
Diggs is not on the bubble with this team.
Yep.
So I think that the expectation of the staff is that he was going to have an immediate impact, or could, I should say, because he didn't play the first 3 games. But the other thing, too, is this could be, and I'm not into moral draft pick victories, guys, but this could be your moral victory for screwing up so bad on the Patterson pick. You sent 4 draft picks to the Patriots and got ripped off. At least if this kid can be a player, you have not completely recovered, but you've somewhat recovered on the fact you found somebody.
Yeah, you found an asset where you were previously lacking in Patterson. And the biggest thing that shines through with Stefon Diggs, to me anyway, is the fact that he's already come across as a clean route runner for a guy who he was big coming out of high school. He had all the offers, decided to stay at Maryland, and a guy who really wasn't on a lot of NFL radars. For him to do what he's done already, I think that just shows that he's that far ahead of a guy like Cordero or even a guy like Adam Thielen.
Well, if I'm going to play cynic for a second, too, they had a split end emerge last year in Charles Johnson that you didn't expect to come. So there's basically 2 guys that you got basically out of nowhere, let's just call it, for all intents and purposes. Is that spot in Norv Turner's offense just this easy, or have they really found 2 talented guys?
Well, I think Norv Turner's just a guy who could find these guys off scrap heaps. He's shown that. With Charles Johnson, he knew him from Cleveland, decided to pull him, take a chance on him when Jerome Simpson ended up kicking his own way out of town.
Nobody could have seen it going that well, right? As
no,
in 2014?
You're absolutely right, but I think it speaks to how Norv Turner can at least pick these guys out. I don't think all of a sudden anybody could step in and be a star just because they're in Norv Turner's offense.
Me?
Probably not you.
Yeah.
See, but this this all goes back to my long.
I don't study. I don't lift weights.
This gets back to my theory of you can find a wide receiver off the scrap heap.
Okay.
It's really simple. It's because if you can run a route, you can. Your qualification, you can't be a star athlete and say I'm good. Or Patterson would be a Pro Bowl player, right?
Yeah.
So basically the starting point of this conversation is, can you run a route? Diggs said after the game on Sunday, and he's 100% right, he said, you can be slow. It doesn't matter as long as you can run a route. And then he should have looked to his left and looked at Cordero and said, but you can't run a... But that's why you can find a wide receiver off the scrap heap or as a 5th round pick.
And look at what they did. I mean, same thing with Greg Jennings, a guy who looked great with Aaron Rodgers, but then all of a sudden he gets there without much of a quarterback, and you go, okay, he's just a guy who can run a route. He's not that speedy, but he still can earn and command that kind of money because he's that kind of tactician, I guess.
Was it you that tweeted during the game after Diggs kind of took off?
Oh yeah,
Cordero. Hey, number 84, Stefon Diggs.
You watching this?
You watching here?
Well, he should be.
God, man.
Seeing how Diggs handled himself in the postgame too.
Sure.
And this is going to sound weird because Patterson's in his 3rd year now. You should almost force Patterson to have to shadow Diggs. I mean, it would be like a class, but the difference is Diggs is 21. He should be the mentor. Everything he did today, from the route running to his postgame comments, everything he did today is what you want if you're a team.
Haven't they tried
forcing
Patterson to follow somebody else's guidance?
I'm telling you, my whole thing is this. When Johnson comes back, I deactivate. If I stay at 5 wideouts, I deactivate.
Are you going to do that?
And that's going to be their next biggest thing. And I think it's difficult. I'd almost say you maybe deactivate a guy like Adam Thielen because I still think Cordero is very much an asset as a kick returner. But Adam gives you more on offense.
Exactly.
And if that's your entire goal, and maybe you want to bring along Stefon Diggs as a kick returner, maybe, because that's something he tried to do in the preseason.
Sherrills can do it now, though, right?
And Sherrills can do it, but I mean, if you want to give the opportunity to somebody like Stefon and build the next guy, then I could see that happening.
Here's my fear. I want to win as many football games as possible, and if I have Patterson up and someone gets hurt, I don't want to use him.
Right.
That's true.
He is largely useless, other than kick returns. And look at the kick return. And look at the kick return now. One, you don't get as many of them, and two, Cordell's starting 10 yards back.
Everyone he's taking is 9 yards out of the end zone.
Yeah, and you almost have to wonder, too, if he were then in a situation where he was forced into playing, you almost use him as a gadget guy, right? And then it's like you're flipping your game plan on
and Norv has shown he's not going to bend to do that.
Right.
We've seen that now. If he did want to do that, he'd be on the field. But this is something where it's like, no, we need to develop Teddy Bridgewater, and in order to do that, you need to be throwing the ball downfield. Cordell's longest catch in the NFL is 30 yards.
Yeah.
And that was once with Christian Ponder in his third ever start. So
Are you saying that they should bring back Ponder? Is that what I'm hearing?
Actually, yeah.
He's available.
No, after Teddy's day, though, I'm not saying they should. Teddy's day was uneven.
Hot sports take. That's what that is.
Teddy is. I think the kindest way to put his play, and this is why it's so hard to make a judgment about him, is, and it's a perfect word, uneven.
Yeah.
He doesn't make a ton of stupid plays, but there were two plays today that could have been killer. The attempt to Rudolph that he tried to throw in the red zone at the 5-yard line and overshot him and got picked is killer. And the attempt that he made to, was it Ellison?
Ellison, 3rd and 1. And that's what forced them to kick a field goal when a touchdown would have put the game away.
That pass has to be complete.
So. Absolutely. And we saw that, though, with Teddy. We saw the plays where he hits the 30-yarder to Diggs on 3rd and 15. You see those kinds of plays where he evades pressure, he can find somebody, and then all of a sudden he has no pressure and then just, airmails a throw. And it's that consistency you're still seeking. And I think people forget, too, today was his 17th career start.
Right.
And so it's something where you just got to kind of take the lumps as you go, but eventually you want to see those consistencies, take place.
So my question as a layman is this
a layman. I don't love that word.
It's a great term. It accurately describes
my question is someone who's just parachuting in.
That's right, yeah. More or less.
That's what's called football, right? I digress.
I didn't see Lionel Messi out there. The question to me, and you maybe touched on this a little bit, but you didn't address it directly, so I'll ask you, is it a physical issue with Bridgewater, or since you've seen him make all of the throws that he needs to make at certain times, does it more become a question of, is his mentality, is he capable of being consistent as a second-year starter?
Yeah, at that point it's all mental. He's capable of doing it, and that's the thing with all these guys in the NFL. I mean, Jay Cutler has shown he's physically capable, but can he mentally? You know what I mean? That's the kind of thing where with these quarterbacks, especially a guy in Teddy. Again, people forget, 17th career start. He's only 22 years old. Came out of college a year early as well, and was forced in as a rookie. So I think all these things are, you kind of think, oh, well, he should just make that next step. He should just all of a sudden be that good. And no, it's not going to happen. It's going to take a little bit. But with Teddy, I don't think there's any cause for concern by any means. It's just, okay, let's call it what it is. It's a guy who's still trying to find consistency.
You just don't know yet.
Yeah.
Well,
you just don't know yet. Yeah.
I wonder if his uptick in production at the end of last season came at an interesting time, because it was like, oh yeah, he's starting to get his feet under him. Now he's ready. He's there. And then it stopped, of course, because the season was over, and we had all off season to sort of evaluate. This is Teddy Bridgewater on the upswing. It might have just been a nice little stretch, and compared to what we've seen anyways through 5 games this
season. A guy like that can find his groove. That's great. But then you take him out of the groove for 9 months, and then you expect him to just jump back in where he was. Well, obviously that's not going to happen, and we overlook the fact that, hey, he and Adrian Peterson need to learn how to play together.
That, to me, is the key.
Sure.
Think about what all last season, from the time that Bridgewater became the starter, he developed and did a nice job, because he was good, struggled, and then developed. And so by the end of the season, he had sort of figured it out for him in the offense without Peterson.
And that shotgun spread offense.
I do think going forward, and I saw this especially in the Broncos game, but we saw it again today, is Bridgewater and Peterson's strengths aren't the same thing. And so you're going to have to pick which one you favor, because Adrian's limitations, every time that they run an offense gauged around Bridgewater, Andrew, every time his limitations are on display.
Yeah, and
catches the ball flat-footed.
Exactly.
Things like that.
And the problem is they become kind of predictable when you try to run out of the shotgun, or all of a sudden when you back Teddy off the line. And that's why I think you saw Norv Turner try and do some of the pistol stuff, kind of bring him up, try to mix the two, and it just never worked out, at least so far. And so the problem is for defenses, then they see the quarterback in the shotgun and they know, okay, Adrian has never gained anything out of shotgun. Right. We know it's got to be a throw or something like that. Yep. And so it's almost to the point where Teddy either needs to become a better undersetter quarterback, a better off of play action in those situations, but the thing is, you're not going to teach Adrian new tricks at this point. You're just not. So you need to play to Adrian's strengths and have Teddy kind of come along to that.
Question for you. What's your theory about, let's just take everything out of the equation and let's work with Bridgewater under center, Peterson lined up 7 yards deep, and play action. What's going to make, because that's the one thing where you would like to see Bridgewater be more successful there. What's the one thing that's going to make Bridgewater, in your mind, more successful, just pure play action wise?
Well,
it should work.
Play action wise, I think a lot of it has to do with the chaos that's in front of him on those kind of plays, and just kind of getting himself, because he didn't do a lot of play action last year, because who was going to buy it with Matt Asiata and Jared McKinnon in the backfield? So I think it's just an adjustment period with that. I don't know how much he did that at Louisville. He was a very much a spread quarterback at Louisville. So I think there's still a learning curve with that. But the biggest thing I see with the Vikings and Peterson is I want to see maybe more of a screen game going. They're not doing that with Adrian Peterson. And I think the passes they are throwing to Peterson, it's these zero passes where they tell him, hey, go line up out wide, and then we're just going to throw it directly to you, and then you just stand there like a deer in the headlights.
Do something with it.
Yeah, and that's,
but he catches it like this.
Yeah, but the thing is, if you can get him on the move in a screen game, and I think you might be able to get something out of it.
But he puts his feet in the ground like he's going to, all he's thinking about is catch the ball.
The problem with that is they don't trust their offensive linemen right now to succeed in that kind of a scenario, because they're still a patchwork group.
Big picture, and then we're out of here. Cause for concern with number 28 in the running game, or is this just a blip on the radar against the Chiefs?
Oh no, I think it's just a blip on. Well, it's a consistent, almost a consistent blip, because you're seeing this now. You saw it in San Fran. You kind of saw it against Denver, where he struggles whenever the offensive line can't move bodies. He's failing to kind of shed tackles and get out there. And the thing is, I think he needs to break a bunch of tackles before he even hits the line to have a good game. And against a defense like the Chiefs, it just didn't happen. So I don't think it's concerning with them. This is the worst offensive line Adrian's ever run behind, in my opinion, in Minnesota.
Wow.
And I think that's what you're seeing.
And plus, he's 30. I mean, there's no cause for concern, because the concern has been there now with the calendar. He's 30 years old. He can't, and the problem he has, too, is this. And this is how one-dimensional he truly is. He either hits the hole. The second you see him start to dance, it's over now. I mean, we saw that today. The line didn't protect well, and so he tried to shake and bake a little bit.
And he had that one where he almost like reversed field a few times.
Yeah.
But I mean, this is
didn't go anywhere.
In the career arc of Adrian Peterson, this is just him.
Yeah. Okay.
So, but I would say no cause for concern, because he's 30, and this is why it needs to be Bridgewater's offense.
You hand it over to
Bridgewater. It
Bridgewater.
needs to be Bridgewater's offense.
Yeah. Fair enough.
To win eventually.